Parasha meditation, Parasha KiTavo, dedicating the first and the finest to Hashem. Parasha's KiTavo always moves me with its vivid description of the fruitful gifts of the land. So I can't wait till the time, B'ezrat Hashem, may it be soon, when we'll all be able to bring our first and finest fruits, the lights of our garden for a temple offering, the first fruit offering, the mitzvah of Bikurim. It's so beautiful, decorated with gold, accompanied by music. As much as I look forward to perform this mitzvah, I'm also aware that it's not so simple. While it's relatively easy to share some of our extras that we anyway don't need, it's much harder to part with the first and the best. We may be embarrassed to admit that we really prefer to keep that for ourselves. The first fruit offering teaches us to let go of attachment and serve Hashem with our entire being. And that includes turning our selfishness to generosity. The entire world was created for the sake of the mitzvah of Bikurim. How do we learn that? Because it says, Reshit. You should take from Reshit, from the beginning of your first fruit. And it also says, Bereshit, in the beginning, Hashem created. And so from here, the Midrash makes a parallel that the whole world was created for the sake of this mitzvah of the first fruit. What's such a big deal about this mitzvah that the whole world should be created for the sake of it? Why is this mitzvah so precious to Hashem more than any other mitzvah? Because Hashem wants us to serve him with our guts, from the lowest place of physical desire. Hashem created this world to have a dwelling place for himself below in this physical world where the Yetzer Hara reigns. When we serve Hashem with our lowest desires, with the fruits that we really desire for ourselves, but we give them to him, we're fulfilling the purpose of the entire creation. So the meditation that's going to come soon is not really a meditation. It's more like guidelines for how to keep the mitzvah of Bikurim in our time. Some tips about how we can continually dedicate the first and the best to Hashem. So here's the description of the mitzvah. It shall be when you enter the land which Hashem your God is giving you for an inheritance, you shall possess it and dwell in it. Then you shall take of the first of all the fruit of the earth, which you shall bring from your land that Hashem your God is giving you. You shall put them into a basket, and you shall go to the place which Hashem your God will choose as a residence for his divine name. So this mitzvah of Bikurim is about entering the temple with a beautiful fruit basket facing the Kohen and making a special declaration of gratitude to Hashem for bestowing his blessings upon the fruits of the land. And there's a beautiful description in the first chapter of Mishnah Bikurim about how describing the ceremony of the first fruits. And each time I read it, I'm always moved by it. So how does it work? Okay, immediately following the holiday of Shavuot, the farmers would rejoice by dedicating the beginning of the fruit harvest to Hashem in this following manner. Those who lived near Yerushalayim would bring fresh figs and grapes, because they wouldn't go bad by a short journey. Those who lived far from Jerusalem would bring dried figs and raisins. An ox went before them with its horns overlaid with gold, and a crown of olive leaves upon its head. The flute was played before them until they approached Jerusalem. When they came close to Jerusalem, they sent messengers before them, decorating the Bikurim. The flute was played before them until they reached the Temple Mount. Once they reached the Temple Mount, even Agrippas, the king, would carry a basket on his shoulder and go in as far as the temple courtyard. Once they reached the courtyard, the Levites would sing, "I will praise you, O God, for you have raised me up. You have not allowed my enemies to rejoice over me." And before all of that, to indicate which fruits were going to later be given as a first fruit offering, a person would go down to his field, see a fig that was ripened, he would tie a piece of straw around it and declaring, "This is Bikurim, first fruit." The entire year we've been weeding, composting, watering, pruning and removing worms from our fruit trees. When we finally receive the fruits of our hard labor, eyeing the very first ripe fig, it is so exciting, special, and desirable that we just want to gobble it up, this delicious fruit, then and there. Such fig desire is described by the prophet as the first ripe fig before summer, which one looks upon and swallow it while it's still in his hand. That's, I believe, is in Yeshayahu. Yes, it is. Now, as always, in the week of Parasha KiTavo is the peak of fig season. I have them every morning for breakfast with my smoothie, green smoothie without any fruits, a hardcore kale smoothie, and with some coconut strips. It's yum. These figs are just so delicious, so deliciously sweet that I'm embarrassed to admit that sometimes I just wake up and I can't wait to run down in my garden and just enjoy. Yet I do look forward to the time, may it be soon, when I'll have to restrain my desire to indulge and instead tie a string around this most precious fig to dedicate my greatest desire to Hashem for the mitzvah of Bikurim. So how do we fulfill the mitzvah of Bikurim in our time? Because we know that the Torah is eternal. It will never be exchanged. And every mitzvah has to have a way to keep it at all times. So now we don't have an altar, we don't have a temple, we don't have a worshiping Kohen. So how do we fulfill Bikurim? The way we could do it is to dedicate the beginning of every matter to Hashem. Just as the body follows the head, the beginning of everything is the most important. If you write down a number 0, no matter how many zeros we add to this first 0, the entire number will still have no value. But if you only add the number 1 in the beginning, then each 0 changes the total numbers significantly. This is what Netivot Shalom was teaching. And that explains why the first of everything must be dedicated to Hashem, because that will illuminate our entire existence. The Bikurim offering was given every year anew from certain specially enticing fruits, mainly from the 7 fruits of the land of Israel, when they first ripened. This teaches that a one-time general dedication will not affect the elevation of our animal instinct, but rather we have to dedicate the first of everything to Hashem. For example, by holding ourselves back for just a few seconds before digging into an especially appetizing food, we can keep Bikurim in our time and maintain our holiness as Jews. The first of everything is always the most exciting. The first baby, the first tooth, the first steps, the baby's first steps. So the purpose of the first fruit offering is for every Jew to give over what's most beloved and most precious for him or her and give it to Hashem. For example, the first bread offering, the firstborn kosher animal, and even the firstborn child was originally dedicated to the temple service. So today, also, we're required to dedicate the beginning of every day when we're full of energy and excitement to Hashem through prayer, before engaging in any other activities. While anticipating the return of temple times, I like to practice the first fruit offering by thanking Hashem so much for the produce and sharing my shiny fruits with the rabbis, teachers, and students alike. I also try to sanctify the beginning of my day with holiness, thanksgiving, and prayer. Okay, meditation, not exactly meditation. When you wake up in the morning, as soon as you open your eyes, thank Hashem for restoring your soul. Try to infuse your Modeh Ani prayer with excitement and thankfulness to Hashem for this new day. Add your personal appreciative prayer as you face Hashem upon rising from your bed. Dedicate your first bite of food in the morning to Hashem by taking a deep breath and then reciting the following. For the sake of the unity of the Holy One with his Shekhinah, I do not eat only in order to give pleasure to my body, but to be healthy and strong in order to be able to serve Hashem. Just imagine saying that and try to see if you can be able to say that in the beginning of your meal. If you make this conscious intent before your meal, even if you later get distracted and start eating for selfish pleasures, still your original pure intention is never nullified. Your entire eating is considered holy, like your original intention at the beginning of the meal. And this is from the Biala Rebbe. When you buy something new, save it to use it first time for Shabbat or in honor of the upcoming holiday, to rejoice with it for the sake of Hashem. This applies both to a new fruit, a new garment, and a new household goods. When you go shopping, as you're waiting in line before finalizing your purchase, recite, for the sake of the unity of the Holy One with his Shekhinah, may everything I buy become vessels for performing mitzvot. Whenever possible, try to buy something special as a gift to make someone else happy. When you pick your fruits, flowers, herbs, or veggies, try to give some of your nicest produce to a person in need. Before beginning your exercise routine, take a deep breath and recite. For the sake of the unity of the Holy One with his Shekhinah, I exercise in order to maintain my body healthy and strong to serve my Creator. When you go to sleep before reciting the bedtime Shema, ask Hashem that your sleep will be deep and sound to give you strength to awaken excited to serve him first thing in the morning. The Biala Rebbe explains, based on his father's teaching, the Divrei Bina, that we need to make a conscious effort to ensure that the beginning of every matter in which we engage for the sake of heaven, for everything follows the beginning. In heaven, they calculate mainly the beginning of a person's thoughts, whether through Torah learning, fulfilling a mitzvah, or engaging in any permitted activity. The beginning of intention needs to be for Hashem. When we have pure intentions to dedicate the beginning of every deed to Hashem, we fulfill the mitzvah of Bikurim in our day even more than in temple times.